Chapter 9, Plan B. Nadine looked around for somewhere to hide. In one of the sheds? No. What if he came in there? Around the side of the house? Too risky. Where? The ute was at the house, so Nadine had to make a quick decision. She ran past the kennels and crouched down behind a matted bush of blackberries. Just in time, too, as the car arrived around the back and parked in front of the dogs. The driver was not alone. In the passenger's seat sat Nadine's stepfather. This could not be. He was supposed to be with Martin and Daniel getting cattle out of the bush. But she had little time to think about this because there was another surprise. The man, whom Nadine assumed to be Warren, got out of the car and opened his boot. In there, to Nadine's horror, was her dog. And, what was worse, he was licking Warren's hand as if he thought the man was the best thing since dog biscuits. Ted had got out too now and lit a cigarette while leaning against the car. The dogs were in a frenzy of barking and howling. Warren pulled Hawkeye out of the boot, closed the lid, and tied the baling twine to the tow bar. He stood up and roared at the dogs. "Shut up!" Instantly the noise was cut. Not one dog made a sound, not even a whimper. Despite her position and the reason why she was there, Nadine couldn't help but be impressed. Now it seemed too quiet, and in the still cool air she could hear clearly what the two men were saying. "So, you think he'll do all right then?" Ted was saying. "Yeah," Warren answered, rolling a cigarette. "He's a bit soft, bit slow to listen, but he's got a good head, hardy shoulders, won't take long at all." Nadine watched as the two of them went to the back of the car. Hawkeye stood there, his tail between his legs, although the tip of it wagged a little. Stupid dog, Nadine thought. Even in the worst possible situation, he still had to be friendly. Tears began to fill her eyes. How was she going to get him? Was she going to have to wait until nightfall, until Warren went out again? But she couldn't. She had to get back home, otherwise Ted would have her guts for garters. Both men finished their cigarettes and flicked them away. "Want a beer?" Warren asked, jerking his head toward the house. "Yeah, why not?" Ted replied. "Got about an hour." Then they both went inside. Nadine thought frantically. She could grab Hawkeye now, but the other dogs would make so much noise the men would come out again. She would have to leave him, come back for him tomorrow perhaps. But how was she going to get here? This was so frustrating. The plan was to find Hawkeye, take him and put him in the hobo's hut down the valley from their house. It would have been perfect because Uncle Ted never went there, and because of the shape of the valley, noise from within seemed to get swallowed by the bush. But now she didn't know what to do. She wanted to rush over and pat and hug her dog, but that would only lead to more trouble, and she had to get home soon because time was running out. Reluctantly, she turned her back on Hawkeye, the rows of kennels, her stepfather and his mate, and ran off into the bush. She circled back further up and began making her way toward the road. If she was lucky, someone would be coming back from sightseeing at the power station, feel sorry for her, and give her a ride into the township. And she was lucky. An older couple, tourists from Auckland, insisted that they take her all the way home. Grateful though she was for the lift, if it took all of her insistence to get them to drop her off at the top of her access road. She waved goodbye and sprinted the 1.5 miles down to the farmhouse. Nadine was just in time, for it was only 5 minutes later that Ted's truck drove up the driveway. Martin and Daniel were impressed with Nadine's tale of her adventures. They weren't surprised, however, to hear their sister's descriptions of Warren's place or his manner with the dogs. "I don't get him," Martin said, shrugging his shoulders. "He's into this fighting thing, and he's really good at training the dogs." "He doesn't look after them at all, though," Nadine said. "You should have seen the state of the kennels and the dogs." "But they do whatever he says," Daniel added, shaking his head. "Yeah," Nadine replied. "You should have seen Hawkeye. He was all over him." "Don't take it personally, Nadine," Daniel assured her. "He's like that with everyone." But that didn't make her feel any better, nor did she feel good when Martin and Daniel suggested Ted's comments confirmed that Hawkeye was going to be trained up for the ring. They needed to come up with something smartly, or she would lose Hawkeye forever.